Today, the Supreme Court took on one of the most polarizing political topics in the U.S. Justices listening to arguments in two cases involving states' bans on transgender athletes in sports. The High Court's conservative majority signaling that they may side with those bans currently in 29 states, but they also appeared wary of potential slippery slopes, indicating decisions could still be left up to individual states.
Given that half the states are allowing it, allowing transgender girls and women to participate, about half are not, why would we, at this point, just the role of this court, jump in and try to constitutionalize a rule for the whole country while there's still, as you say, uncertainty and debate, while there's still strong interest in the other side? And I think one of the themes of your argument's been the more people learn, the more they'll agree with you. At least I've detected that theme in your argument. So why would we get involved at this point?
I'm joined now by former Idaho State cross-country runner Madison Kenyon and the president and CEO of Alliance Defending Freedom, Kristen Waggoner. Thank you so much to both of you for joining me. I know you've been in court today listening to and watching these arguments. Madison, first off to you, tell us why this is so important to you.
Oh, man. Well, I went to Idaho State University on a track and cross-country scholarship where I raced a male athlete in the women's division many times, and I lost every time along with hundreds of other women. I saw a teammate pushed off a podium, and I know that that roster spot didn't go to a woman. And after seeing that and knowing that this is not fair, I stood up to protect these sports that gave me so much, gave me my education. And it's not fair for women to compete against men. It ruins the integrity of women's sports.
What were the conversations like with athletes when you were competing against a trans athlete? Were there various perspectives that you were getting?
It was pretty consistent across the line that it's unfair. For a woman to step on the line against a male, it's like you haven't started the race, but the result has already been decided. And running's a mental sport. If you think that, then that's what happens. And we're collegiate athletes. We're not participating for a participation trophy. We're sacrificing every single day to go out and race and to beat the odds.
We're not going to know the outcome right away. We're going to have to wait a few months. But based on what we heard today, the court does seem to be inclined to agree with you. And if that is the ruling, Kristen, but the implications of this case ultimately lay the foundation for there being circumstances where trans people are excluded from other sectors of society. Is that something that you would be comfortable with?
I don't agree with that assertion at all. The case focused on whether men can participate in women's sports or whether that's sex discrimination. And what we heard today from the ACLU is that it was unable to define what biological sex even means, which actually ends up being difficult to prove that there's sex discrimination if you can't even identify what sex means. It also erases the rights of women and harms women like Maddie.
So it's pretty clear Americans agree with you. A lot of them, the majority of them, agree with your position when it comes to trans athletes in sports. But in previous cases, for instance, Bostock, these are cases that do lay the foundation for other instances besides the specific one in which they are, the court is looking at the merits of them. So I just want to ask you that again. If it is something that goes just beyond sports and it is used as a something for the court to fall back on, or for states to say, look, in this decision, we're going to apply this to something else where they may be excluding trans people from another sector of society, is that something you would be comfortable with?
I think addressing it from the perspective of what were the legal issues before the court, Title IX, which is a federal statute, was before the court, which is a very different statute than Bostock. And Title IX itself says that we need to make sex-based distinctions when those distinctions matter. And that's been consistent throughout the law. I mean, even Justice Ginsburg talks about the enduring differences between men and women. They're natural. And when a man has a natural advantage over a woman, regardless of whether the testosterone suppressants have been used or puberty blockers, those differences matter in places like the athletic field. And that's what this case is focused on. That's what the statutes are focused on. How other cases may result will be determined later because they're under different laws and certain different inquiries that will be made.
And Madison, is there room to stand behind your concerns about fairness, which, like I said, when you look at polling, there are a lot of Americans who share your concerns, and the majority of them do when it comes to sports. Is there room, though, to stand behind those concerns and still empathize with trans students who want to have school experiences that can be so character and community building? And how do you approach that?
I think it's really important to understand that when women compete against women, it is fair. When you put a man in women's athletics, it's not fair. And women have nowhere else to go. If you take away the fairness in our sports, we literally have nowhere else to go. But when men compete against men, it is fair. And when women compete against women, it is fair. And so in order to protect the opportunities that I had in college to get a scholarship, to get an education, for all of the future generations of women, it is so important that we can recognize that women should only compete against women.
No, and understanding that that is your position and that people share that with you, how do you see the issue of including trans people in school activities, in the community, in a way that makes them feel included? Because I will say, looking at this, you'll hear, and we had someone on the other side of this issue on the program last hour. There's certainly a feeling of being excluded. So I just wonder, from sort of your point of view, how just on a very human level you see that.
I think it's important to see that anyone should participate in sports, but sports is based on biology, and that's why it's important that women only compete against women. So anyone can play sports, but where is it most fair? And for women, that's only against women.
And can I just add, I mean, this idea of kindness and compassion, we should be extending that to all people, no matter how they identify. And we shouldn't be making differences on the basis of how someone identifies if that's not relevant to the particular inquiry. I think the other big piece to put there is, you said, how do they feel? Well, I want to focus on the harm to the girls, because even in the case before the Supreme Court, over 420 girls have been displaced 1,100 times and lost 57 medals to the boy at the heart of the case. So let's talk about how those 400 girls are feeling in this moment.
Yeah, and certainly there are a lot of people who have a lot of feelings in this issue, and we understand that. The ACLU, Kristen, says this case is just a jumping off point for rules around trans people in all contexts. The ACLU gives the example that the sponsor of the bill for Idaho's law being argued in the courtroom today also sponsored the bill limiting access to sex-segregated facilities like bathrooms, locker rooms, prisons, and dorms at public universities. You and your group are behind a number of cases, including one out of Colorado this Supreme Court term that challenges conversion therapy and the ban that Colorado has. How do you see this case fitting into your broader mission?
We want to ensure that children that need help, that are confused about their bodies, have the opportunity to simply listen and talk to those who can give them help. And actually, the science tells us that over 90% of kids, prepubescent kids, young children, who are able to sit down and talk and listen and grow comfortable with their bodies, they end up living consistent with their biological sex. That's the science. So again, we want to be looking at, where do these differences matter? How do they play out? And we know in sport that girls will become spectators in their own female category when boys come in. And that's true even when they've been on puberty blockers. They still have inherent male advantages.
Kristen, Madison, thank you so much to both of you for being with us. This is a big day at the court, and we appreciate your perspective.
Yeah, thank you for having us.